Welcome in, everybody, to another podcast. I'm Jake, and this is Unspoken Hoop Knowledge, a sports podcast. What's up, everybody? It's Jake, and I'm here, and I'm going to talk about Tyrese Haliburton. So, as we know, on January 8th against Boston, he hurt his hamstring, and the man hasn't looked the same since. He's just not the same player. He's not playing the same. He seems almost hesitant in the way he's playing, and I just want to kind of break that down today and give you all my opinion on why I think he's playing poorly and in a slump. All right, so let's get started. So, like I said, he hurt his hamstring on January 8th, and it was against Boston. And if you all remember, he was driving, got to the rim, and then he slipped. He slipped on the court, and that's like the 8th time that he slipped on the court in Indianapolis this year. So they got to do something about the courts. The courts are either just not getting put down right, not getting wiped off. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's dust on the court. I don't know what. They need to get it fixed because that's like his 8th time slipping on the court. And I know with the new in-season tournament this year, there's new courts for every home city. And I think part of that is just the fact that, it's cool for the fans to have these new courts, but if they're going to be hurting players or putting players in risk because the new courts are more slick or whatnot, then that needs to be fixed because, that's not okay that your star player is going down based off just a new court, like, really. But anyways, he slips, does the splits, like, come on, like, who seriously can do the splits and not tear something? And he was going full speed down the lane, straight into the splits. Of course he's going to tear something. So, he got picked up. I think James Johnson and Buddy Hield were carrying him off. And they put towels over his head. I was watching the game. I was like, dang, this man just really like ended his whole season. Luckily, we found out, though, the next day ended up being only a grade 1 sprain. So that's good. That's good. We were like, okay, he's like a week, 2 weeks. Like, he'll be back. So I think he missed 5 games. And he returned to Portland on January 19th. And he played good that first game back. And the reason he came back was because Pascal Siakam had just gotten traded from the Toronto Raptors to the Indiana Pacers. So he was excited, as anyone would be, to get an all-NBA type caliber player. So he wanted to get out there on the court and he wanted to play with them. So I don't blame him for wanting to come back early. Like that's understandable. I wish he would have taken a little bit more time, but I understand it for both the monetary reasons and him just wanting to get on the court with his new all-star caliber teammate and Pascal. And so I respect it. I do think it was a little bit early for him, but he came back that game and dropped 21 points and 17 assists. So, that's class Tyrese right there, dropping the assists with the points. So, he looked good. So the biggest thing I have with it is this whole new All-NBA, to make All-NBA, to win MVP, you got the 65-game rule, right? And Tyrese hasn't even spoken on this himself. He thinks it's kind of bogus that you gotta play the 65 games to meet these like criterias. You got all these criterias to meet MVP 65 games. Oh, okay. Now we gotta make All-NBA. We gotta hit the 65-game mark. So like Joel Embiid, for example, dude was on a tear, like a straight tear. Like, going crazy, like, dominating the league. Definitely the best player in the league at the beginning of this year. Like, no one could even touch him. I think he was averaging, like, close to 40 points, like, for 2 months straight. Like, the man was unstoppable, unguardable. He would go left, right, between the legs, just pull up in the mid-range, and one. Joel Embiid, respect to him. I hope he can get better. I know the Sixers are struggling without him a little bit. They've kind of fallen in the Eastern Conference standings. But I know he's supposed to come back here around the playoff time. So that's just unfortunate. But the 65-game rule, my personal opinion on it is like, I understand what owners are trying to do and like the league's trying to do is like make these players meet a 65-game like baseline. Like, you have to play 65 games or you're not even going to be considered for awards. So, like, it makes sense to me, honestly. Like, it really does. I do believe in it. I think 65 is a little bit harsh. I think that it maybe should move down to like 60. But I mean, you're gonna say like 5 games. Like, what's 5 games gonna do? It really is only 5 games. But I mean, if you think about it, 5 games. Like, Tyrese was out for 5 games for this hamstring. So, like, missing 5 games, that's huge. So I think the biggest thing I'm trying to bring into all this is, like, Tyrese is worried he's not going to meet those 65 games and he's not going to get paid, because with his contract, how it's set up is it'll go into effect this next year. But it was the baseline, like, max contract. And then if he makes an all-NBA team, then he gets a ton of bonus money. His contract shoots through the roof. Like, who wouldn't want that money? So, like, I understand he wanted to get back as soon as possible. And so I was like, okay, I respect it. He played good first game back. I was like, wow, this Haliburton-Siakam duo is like a little bit of like I know it's not as good, but like it's a little bit of like some D-Wade, LeBron type action. So I was excited. So that was huge, him, come back, play with Siakam. But then after that, he was on just a straight minute restriction. So Tyrese was on a minute restriction from, like, I don't know, dang near. When he came back, it was January 19th. So he was on a minute restriction from, like, January 19th through dang near, like, February 15th. I don't know if that's the exact timeline, but it was dang near a month when this man was on a minute restriction. But he's finally back to playing his full minutes now. But I think through that minute restriction, it kind of bothered him because there was one game he came off the bench to start the game. Like, he didn't even start because they want him to be there in the crucial moments at the end of the game. So they're like, oh, so we only want him playing 25 minutes tonight. So we'll put him in off the bench, come in about the 6-minute mark in the first quarter. He can play the whole 6 minutes, and then we'll sub him out, and then he'll come in and play the whole 6 minutes of the second quarter on the second back half. And then so he's at 12 at halftime, and then he's basically got the same thing basically at 24, 25 minutes. So, I mean, I, as a player, like, when I used to play, like, that would bother me a little bit because you're playing with a new unit when you come in. And Tyrese is such a gifted passer, such a gifted player. Like, it really shouldn't matter if he's coming in with that new unit because, like, he plays them all the time. But I think when you're used to starting, like, that's going to disrupt your game. You know what I mean? So I think him being on that minute restriction for about that month, like, that took a big hit to his stats. And you can kind of tell he was kind of coming off the injury, so he's a little bit in a slump, kind of struggling a bit. So I think that's a big part of why his stats have kind of dropped from, like, where they were. The minute restriction definitely plays a big part in that. But now I want to kind of transition a little bit and talk about his more recent games. So I'm actually going to bring up his stats. Let's just do a 5-game sample. So let me look this up. All right, here we go. Tyrese Haliburton in his last 5 games. So against Brooklyn last night, he played 31 minutes, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. 4 assists is crazy for a man that used to average around 12 assists. But he played really good defense that game, which I was impressed with. Problem is, he went 1 for 9 on 3-pointers. Yeah, he's in a slump. A lot of his threes he makes, he does a lot of these, like, he'll come off a screen, kind of hedge it like he's gonna push the pace, go to the rim, and then he'll kind of just stop, and then he'll pop. But he kind of seems like he's kind of a little, like, hesitant on some of his old, like, step to the right, wait for the defender fly by, then shoot. He's kind of, like, hesitant on those. But he got 9 shots up. That was against Brooklyn. So 1 for 9, 11%. That's terrible. So then he plays Chicago, previous game. 1 for 6 on 3, 16%. Then he plays OKC. OKC, he goes 2 for 6, 33.3%. All right, then we got him against Orlando. 1 for 6 on 3, 16.7%. Then we got him against Minnesota, 2 for 7, 28.6%. So just in a 5-game sample. I mean, you see the numbers. The numbers don't lie. He's in a slump. He's in a slump. That's the only way to say it. I hate that for him. He's a great player. Great players go through slumps. I mean, look at Steph Curry from last year. I mean, the dude was about to break the three-point record and went on one of the massive shooting slumps of his career. I mean, dude could not get the ball through the hoop. So it happens to it. Steph Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. So if it can happen to him, I mean, it can happen to Tyrese Haliburton for sure. But if you all just want an even more crazier stat, let me look this up. I'm pretty sure I know the exact, but let me look it up. Yep. Over Tyrese Haliburton's last 17 games, right? Or, sorry, not last 17 games. My bad. Last 12 games. So, Tyrese Haliburton, who I think is a top 3 point guard in the league, over his last 12 games, okay? 17% from the three-point line. Yes, you heard that right. 17% from the free throw line. Wait, why am I saying free throw line? Three-point line. My bad. 17% from the three-point line. I'm not making that number up. You can look it up. I'm using StatMuse. That's a fact. I mean, he's shooting 17% from the three-point line. There's something like saying you're in a slump, and this definitely looks like a slump, but it's a big slump, not gonna lie. And the Pacers have aspirations to make the playoffs this year, and this is not going to cut it. I'm sorry. Pascal's been picking up the slack as of recent, but we got a tough schedule coming up, and without Tyrese shooting well, it's going to be tough. So let's go back to the 5-game span a little bit. So let's look at his passing. So against Chicago, the game before Brooklyn, 14 assists, so that's good. That's normal Tyrese. OKC, 12 assists. Orlando, 8 assists. Minnesota, 13 assists. I mean, the dude's getting the assists, though. I'm not worried about his passing. I think now that they have another 20-point-per-game scorer in Pascal, I mean, he's not going to get the ball as much. Pascal's a great facilitator as well for being a big man. And so I think Tyrese, you might see his assists go down by maybe 2 to 1.5 like assists per game, but I think he's at a good spot. I think assist wise, I don't think his passing slowed down. I think he's still facilitating well. I just think he's not getting to his spots as well in terms of shooting, and even when he is, he's just missing wide open looks. Like there's about 4 or 5 shots against Brooklyn that were just wide open. He just missed, and it's nothing against him. Like he's taking smart shots. He's not taking like, oh my gosh, I got to get my shots in. Like I got to get my shots up. Like I'm going to shoot 20 shots a game and they're bad shots. No, he's taking good shots. They're just not falling. So I think a big part for him is like shooters just got to shoot. Like you've just got to keep shooting. You just got to keep shooting. The shots are going to fall eventually. It's just hopefully it don't last till the regular season. Goes to regular season. The man, we missed the playoffs. We're in a play-in team. Have to work our way into the playoffs. Then we play a top-seeded Eastern Conference team like the Celtics or somebody. Yeah, I don't want that for the Pacers. I don't want that for Tyrese. I think he can pull it around. He's a great player. So I think he'll figure it out. But yeah, just looking at some of these last 5 games, like his assists look good. He's rebounding at a much higher rate, which is impressive. He's averaging 5.7 rebounds compared to his 3.2. Now let's kind of look at his stats on the year. So on the year, he's now at 20.5 points per game, which is down about 5 points from pre-injury Haliburton. It's not great. He's which I would say about 3 of those points are from minute restrictions. So I wouldn't say it's as bad as it seems, but definitely has dropped. Field goal percentage is down about 4%. He's at 47.9. His 3-point percentage is now at 36.5. It was over 40. So do I think he can get back to 40% by the end of the year? It's possible. Definitely possible. His rebounding is up, actually. It's now at 3.9. His assists have dropped from 12.4 to 11.2. So his assist to turnover ratio is still solid. Steals, blocks, I mean, all those metrics are good. He just got to get his 3-ball to fall. And once his 3-ball starts falling, I mean, nobody can guard him. Nobody can stop the Pacers offense when that happens. So I think a big part of it also is he's drawing like the best defender on each team. So let's kind of break it down for his last like 10 games. So against the Nets, he had Mikal Bridges on him sometimes. Sometimes they put Dorian Finney-Smith on him. I mean, those are two really good defenders. Against the Bulls, they kind of had Kobe White on them, and they kind of switched out. They kind of had throwing Alex Caruso on them towards the end of the game. I mean, those are two pretty good defenders. Alex Caruso is a very solid defender, very underrated too. Against the Thunder, I mean, the Thunder they were out without Jalen Williams, so they didn't really have as many people to throw at them. But they were putting kind of Lou Dort on them with Kason Wallace. So I mean, they have good defenders over there on the Thunder. So I mean, he was getting a lot of players thrown at him. I mean, you can just keep going through this. Like, he's just drawing now since teams know. When you look at let's say you're the Mavericks, okay? Or let's say Cavaliers, since they play the Cavaliers tonight. You're the Cavaliers, all right? And you're looking at the scouting report. The first name on the list is Tyrese Haliburton. It is not Pascal Siakam. It is Tyrese Haliburton. Tyrese Haliburton is by far the best player on the team. Now, don't get me wrong, Pascal Siakam is a great player, and I think Pascal Siakam can carry the load a little bit more when you like seriously need a bucket. Now, who's a better player? I would say Tyrese Haliburton. Now, right now, you can say since Pascal has been to the playoffs, he's won a championship, you can say he's more of a veteran. He can win you games on a more consistent basis. But I think Tyrese is definitely the better player, and you got a game plan for him. He's such a gifted passer, and if you can slow him down and get the ball out of his hands, I mean, the Pacers are not nearly as good of a team when he does not have the ball in his hands. So that's why I think a lot of teams are blitzing him at the top of the key. They send double teams. They pick him up full court. They're trying to get the ball out of that man's hands, because when he can run up and down the court freely, not have to worry about guys like chasing him down all up in his face. Like when he has the ability to go coast to coast and just pass, facilitate, get guys wide open shots. I mean, the Pacers. I mean, we saw it. The Pacers were on track to be the best offense of all time at the start of the year. Like around the in-season tournament, people were like, "This offense is insane." Like, I don't think we've seen an offense since like maybe the Warriors. Like they're like the Warriors offense was crazy, but statistically, like this Pacers team was on track to literally be the best offense of all time, and they still are one of the best offenses of all time statistically this year. So another thing I kind of want to talk about, and I kind of want to bring up, and it pains me a little bit to say this, but I do think Buddy Hield plays a big role in Tyrese Haliburton's slump, and I'm about to explain my opinion on that. Okay, so let's look at Buddy Hield's stats this season. He's averaging 12.0 points per game, 44 field goal percentage, 38 from 3, 3.2 rebounds, 2.7 assists. So very solid. So teams know how good of a shooter Buddy Hield is. I mean, Buddy Hield, I think, led the NBA in three-pointers made the past 3 seasons over like Curry and other guys. And so the dude also doesn't miss games. He's extremely healthy. Now, as a Pacers fan myself, I am kind of glad we traded him, but I'm also kind of like, dang, we probably should have kept him because he helps Tyrese out. But yeah, when he was on the team, you know, Tyrese could just dish it to him and know this guy's a knockdown 3-point shooter, and he'll hit the shot. Now you're kind of in the boat of like, now you got the rookie Ben Shepherd coming in the game, who teams don't respect him like a Buddy Hield. They know that Ben Shepherd can shoot, but they don't respect him like no Buddy Hield. I'll tell you that much. The problem where I was like, okay, I'm kind of glad we might have traded him, Because Buddy Hield is horrendous on defense. I mean, horrendous. Like, he couldn't even guard a trash can. Like, not moving. Like, it's ridiculous. And I hate to say that. I wish this man could be a great two-way player. But, yeah. Sorry, buddy. He's just not a good defender. He's not. It's just simple as that. When he was at the end of games, in the crunch time, he gets switched on to people. They take advantage, score every time with ease. So, definitely a problem. Buddy Hield, when he was on the floor, he was not a good defender. So, yeah. Good. But our defense has been a lot better since he's left. So, there's some positives. However, some of you all might know this, some of y'all might not know this, but Buddy Hield is Tyrese Haliburton's best friend on and off the court. I mean, the guys like hang out. They even went to the Bahamas over the summer. Tyrese even said, and when Buddy Hield got traded, he was a little upset. He knows it's a business. He knows that players don't play together for their whole careers. But I mean, when you lose your best friend and he's not on the team no more, you're definitely gonna be a little upset, and you're also probably gonna be in your head a little bit. But it's more than that. Buddy Hield sets these ghost screens, right? And a ghost screen is basically where Buddy Hield will come up, actually send the screen, kind of fade out. You can do multiple things. It'll be most of the time it's just like a quick like diversion, essentially, just to get Buddy Hield either a three or get Tyrese like an open layup, driving to the hoop. And Buddy Hield is probably one of the best ghost screeners in the entire league. And the Pacers love to run floppy, which if you don't know what the play floppy is, it's basically where you have a player running from the other side of the baseline, and he comes all the way around on baseline and comes up to the wing, and you have two guys kind of setting off-ball screens for him so you can get a wide-open shot either in the corner or the wing. And so Buddy Hield thrived off that. I mean, Tyrese would give him the ball. There'd be about 2 assists off that play alone in a game. So that's why I think Tyrese's assists might be down a little bit right there, there's a couple assists just from that play alone. And now you got Ben Shepherd running floppy, and now you sometimes have Tyrese running floppy, which is crazy. Tyrese is playing more off-ball now. And that's because Tyrese is now one of the best movement shooters. And we acquired Doug McDermott thinking he could be our movement shooter, but he's just as bad at defense as Buddy Hield was, and he's not nearly the shooter that Buddy Hield is. He's still an okay shooter, but he's been hurt, so can't really throw a hurt dude out on the court and expect him to go hit threes. But he's supposed to be coming back soon, so maybe he'll get some action. Maybe he'll get some playing time. Maybe he can do something for us. But, yeah, Buddy Hield, great shooter. Fast break. You'll have Buddy Hield sprinting to the corner. You have someone flying into the paint. Tyrese run down the middle with the ball. Tyrese can either dot up the corner or he's got someone wide open in the paint because they're going to respect Buddy Hield and they don't want to give up the three. So they might crowd out, go out to the three-point line, give up the two a little bit. Hopefully someone rushes back and gets a paint. So I think Buddy Hield not being on the team no more definitely hurts us. Yeah. So I think in the offseason, or we need to, maybe even next year near trade deadline, we need to acquire some sort of off-ball movement shooter, or hope that Ben Shepherd can kind of grow into that position. But yeah, I think I also kind of want to talk about a little bit like my thoughts on some. I've seen a lot of people like Tony East, among others, have kind of talked about how they think it's possible that Tyrese still is dealing with that injury, and I personally think that might be a little bit like bogus. Like, it's been a long time since he heard it. Like, we're talking about, it's March now, so it's been at about 2 months almost. Yeah, 2 months. Has been 2 months. So I know hamstring injuries kind of last with you. Like, they don't go away most of the time unless you let them fully heal up. So I understand if he still has some pain there and it's not fully healed up yet, but I can't put all the blame on, oh, he's hurt, that's why he's not playing good. Like, no, it's it's also he just kind of lost his confidence a little bit, I think. And that's tough. Like, losing your confidence, like, as a basketball player, like, that's not good. Like, confidence is key. Like, you got to keep shooting. You got to keep having the confidence you're going to make it. And I think watching some of these games as a recent, Tyrese has kind of proved, like, he's kind of struggling in that aspect. And he's having a hard time kind of keeping his confidence up when he's missing 8, 6, 5, 7 threes a game. So, will I think he'll bounce out of this slump? Of course I do. I think everybody bounces out of slumps. I just want to get on here, kind of say my 2 cents, kind of talk about why I think his slump's been happening. And kind of tell y'all a little bit about Tyrese, kind of give y'all some insight about why his shooting numbers are down. Because I'm sure y'all have noticed it. I know ESPN and other people, other accounts, like social media accounts have posted, like, pre-injury Haliburton, here's the stats. Post-injury Haliburton, here's the stats. Was that only a hot streak for Haliburton? No, it wasn't just a hot streak. The dude's a good basketball player. He just needs time. And he'll keep getting his shots up, and they'll eventually fall. And you'll see us Indiana Pacers in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. We've got a big game against the Cavs tonight. We're lucky that, Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley are both out tonight with injuries, so we should be able to win this game. Hopefully we can pull through. And that's going to be it for this podcast. It was good hopping on here again, speaking with y'all. Go ahead and comment. Let me know any of y'all's thoughts on Tyrese and his injury. And hopefully you can turn things around. But yeah, peace.